The Locked On Podcast Network presents the College Sports Big 3 in 30. The three biggest stories in college sports. From our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. Bringing you the real story. Why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The College Sports Big 3 in 30 starts now with the biggest story in college sports.
This week, it's all about one game. Indiana and Ohio State battling for the Big Ten title.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Ohio State and Indiana for the Big Ten championship game, my friends.
It's wild, man. If you were to talk to me about 10 years ago, or even when the Big Ten put this championship game into reality, and you ask me if in 2025 Ohio State would be playing Indiana 1-2 matchup in the Big Ten title, I would have said you're crazy. I would have said you're ludicrous. Like, there's absolutely no way in my head at that time that Indiana would be able to have a team good enough to even be 1 or 2 in the country, let alone at the same time being top in the conference to have a shot to win the Big Ten title. But here we are. The Hoosiers are really good. The Buckeyes are really good, too. This is, to me, the biggest game of the weekend. And once again, ESPN College Game Day, they miss a mark in going to a marquee game that fits a Big Ten opponent. It was almost a understood thing to me, like, oh, they're absolutely going to go to Indiana. No, they're not. They're going to go down to Atlanta once again. It's almost like something like they have a contract maybe to go to Atlanta for the SEC title game. I'm being sarcastic a little bit, but
it seems like it, though. Yeah, it does. And so, I don't know how you skip on the number 1 team in the country versus the number 2 team in the country, but I think you and I both would agree that Ohio State is number 1 for a reason, and Indiana is number 2 for a reason. These are the 2 best teams in college football. Now, there are some really good ones behind us, right? Texas Tech and Oregon and Georgia and Alabama and things like that. But, man, it's no doubt. I mean, these 2 teams have dominated. They're undefeated in the regular season. They really haven't played a whole lot of close games, and when they did, they took care of those games. Ohio State even more so than Indiana. And so it's fascinating to see what this game is going to become. And we're going to talk about Ryan Day versus Curt Cignetti here in a moment, talk about the Heisman Trophy basically being up for grabs in this game between Mendoza and Julian Sayin, and then we'll make our predictions at the end. But Ohio State got some news this week, my friend, about Brian Hartline, the OC and wide receivers coach, heading down to South Florida, but sounds like he's going to finish out the season, right?
Oh, yes, he is. That's a huge benefit for Ryan Day because while Hartline is now going to be the head coach at USF, and I'm happy for him. First off, I'm very happy for him. It was almost an expected thing at some point this offseason or next offseason that he would become a head coach at some level. Yeah, you would love for it to be a power conference team, but you're the American. I have a lot of respect for those teams in that conference, and so hats off to him, his family going down to Florida, a place where he played NFL football in the Sunshine State for, I think, 6 or 7 years. He was there with the Dolphins, so he's going back to familiar territory. I'm happy for him. I'm also happy he's sticking around.
Yeah.
Going into this game, if Ryan Day had to take over play calling at full time while also being the head coach of the team, that could be a formula that could be disastrous for Ohio State to where Cignetti can take advantage of it. It is not saying Ryan Day can't be a great play caller. We know he is. But if you're trying to do something for the first time all year in the biggest game of the season, it's a little bit tricky to do so. So I think it's big for Ohio State that they're keeping Hartline. Moving forward, it's a massive loss. I mean, even Chris Henry Jr., at the time of this recording, hasn't signed with anybody yet on the first day of the early signing period. Right now, it seems like it's down to Oregon and Ohio State, and Oregon's pushing very hard to land a 5-star receiver. I'm not shocked that they're doing that, but that's the Hartline effect. Hartline's not there. The young man may go somewhere else to play college football.
Yeah, I mean, he's such a good coordinator. And I was telling you before we hit record, I thought he would have taken an even bigger job. And not that South Florida is not a big job or not a good job, especially for your first head coaching gig, but I just thought a P4 team was going to snatch him up. But I still think he'll find his way to a P4 team at some point. But the big news is the idea that he's finishing out the season. So Indiana still has to go up against that Brian Hartline offense, but it's an Indiana defense. And our buddy Spencer McLaughlin on Locked On College Football was talking to me the other day, and he said, I'm kind of surprised that the Indiana coordinators haven't been poached yet with Shanahan on offense and Bryant Haynes on defense, because I think they're 2 of the best coordinators in college football. When you look at the numbers, man, it doesn't get better than what Indiana's doing on both sides and what Ohio State's doing on both sides, and that's why these two teams are meeting on Saturday in Indianapolis.
It doesn't. And I think the Shanahan thing is it's tricky, but also, if I'm not crazy, or if my memory is working correctly, I believe he's had a long track record of being with Cignetti for quite a long time, which that could be a big reason why he is sticking around with him. Also, Indiana football is going to pump a lot more money into the contracts for these coaches, and that could be a major selling point. Like, hey, stick around, we'll pay you, you'll keep winning, you'll stay at the top of the polls, and you'll get the bonuses at the end of the year. So that's a major thing as well. Yep. But these coordinators on both sides, not just Indiana's coordinators, but also Ohio State's coordinators, these are two of the best duos in the country on both sides. It's weird that they're both in the Big Ten, but Matt Patricia's been, oh my gosh, so much fun to watch with the smile and how happy he is, and the joy being at Ohio State has brought to his life, and seeing the connections he has made with players like Cade McDonald and Caleb Downs. And I think it's going to be a big reason why those guys are going to go all out, not just for the title to be at the top of the Big Ten, but they're going to go all out for their coach, because they genuinely love this man and love being coached by him.
And then you got the guys at the top. It's Ryan Day, the young, fiery guy who gets going and finally gets over the Michigan hump, which we'll get to in a little bit. And then Curt Cignetti, the old guy, he wears glasses. He doesn't say a whole lot, but he says a lot when he doesn't say a lot, if that makes any sense. And two guys that are completely different, but at their core, Jay, they're just football dudes, and they are so good at what they do. And I cannot wait to see them go up against each other and what they have up their sleeve for each other on Saturday night.
It's going to be a battle, man. It's going to be a battle. One thing I think when it comes to these two head coaches, they both have their formulas. They both have their styles, and they don't normally go away from it. But this year's been weird for Ryan Day. Not weird in a bad way, but Ryan Day has not been the attack or highly explosive passing offense that you're used to. No, it's been very slow and methodical, and the approach has led to the Buckeyes having the most efficient offense in the country. I think they also have one of the slower offenses in the country, too. So the pace is slow, but the pace is very efficient. And that's one thing to watch in this game. Against Michigan, Ryan Day said we're going to attack. And the first two plays, one to the right side of Carnell Tate, incomplete pass. The second pass of the game to Jeremiah Smith. Great defense, might I add, that led to an interception. I wonder if Ryan Day is going to attack in a way that he did against Tennessee and Oregon in last year's playoff. Because if he does, and if these guys stay healthy, we still are not sure if these guys are 100%. But if Ryan Day decides to attack, I think that's a major benefit for the Buckeyes moving forward.
And Indiana's defense is going to be tested. Good news is you've got some NFL dudes back there. So does Ohio State. But Indiana has D'Angelo Pons, who I expect to be put on Jeremiah Smith. And then it's figuring out, well, who covers Carnell Tate, who covers a tight end, and who covers everybody else for Ohio State. But between Ryan Day and Curt Cignetti and the coordinators, the coaching matchup is phenomenal.
NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, FanDuel.com is the place to go place your live NFL bets all season. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you.
You are Locked On College Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Chris Level. So you mentioned the fact that looking forward to this with these two teams, and they're both in first time appearances in the Big 12 championship game. We'll talk about that, but big news in Provo, obviously, this week with the highly publicized Kalani Sitake contract situation. Penn State coming after him hot and heavy. He ultimately decides, I'm staying put. BYU comes up with some assurances in terms of salary for himself, taking care of his staff, and more importantly, much like Texas Tech, guaranteeing an amount of money, reportedly between $10 and $15 million on top of the House settlement cap that are essentially, it looks like these two programs, speaking of Tech and BYU, have every intention of maintaining their position, it appears, as 1-2 in this league.
There are levels to this. I think what you're seeing is that some schools out there weren't fully funding the house settlement rev share. There's some haggling in some departments as it relates to how much would be allocated to football versus other sports. And I think what you're seeing here is that these are two football programs that are fully vested. And I think they're willing to go above and beyond what it takes, because that's what it takes. I mean, I think that's if you want to play at a very, very high level. And both of these coaches got new contracts this week. I mean, you start out the week, and both of these coaches woefully underpaid compared to their contemporaries.
Uh-huh.
It's just a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Go look around the Big 12, and you'll see a lot of salaries in the $7-8 million range, $5 million range, whatever. These two coaches started this week out. Neither one of them was making anywhere close to like $5 million, right, a year. They are now. they are now, and deserve every penny, because these are. We talked about this the last time before these two teams played the first time.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of similarities between these two men. And it's about fit in college football in 2025. And it's about culture. Yes, you need resources. Yes, you need scheme. Yes, you need to be able to recruit and all that stuff. But it's really about like gluing it together, making it work, and squeezing everything you can. Because a lot of people have recruited well. A lot of people have great schemes. But it's the secret sauce is the culture, and I'm glad that that Kalani and Joey are one. They're good friends. They've known each other for a long time. A lot of mutual respect there, and they are culture people. This is what it takes. You have players that will play really hard for these men because they are quality humans, and that is rare in this industry.
Well, and to that point, a lot of people want to point to the Tech and BYU are buying their way to the top, Chris. Here's the deal. I think you and I have enough experience doing what we've done in media and the like. We've seen programs both in the Big 12 and beyond in college football throw money at the problem, and it's nothing more than just a problem. That's what it is. It becomes a team of mercenaries, and the second something happens that's negative, they fracture. The point you just made there, culture. There needs to be, I call it the total package. You have to have, obviously, the money, because that's, you can't get away from that in this day and age of college football. With the resources and the amount of money that can be allocated to these players, that's always going to be a part of the conversation here. But it has to be more than that. BYU is a church-affiliated university. I know Texas Tech, if I'm mistaken, is land grant, but they have, with both these coaches, they've instilled culture in these programs, and that goes beyond just the amount of money these players are making, and that's why they're at these universities. They play for more than that, and you're right. They play for these coaches, and that makes the difference, it feels like, with these two programs, because we've seen other Big 12 programs, they've had nowhere near the success, even though they may have allocated as much, if not more money.
Money has been discussed and written about, and way too much as it relates to these two situations. What hasn't been, the story that hasn't been told, is the culture and the evaluation, the development. Those are the parts, because there's a lot of schools that are throwing a lot of money at this deal. I mean, look at LSU. LSU had one of the top portal classes in the country a year ago, and were picked in the top 10 in the country preseason, and they didn't fare so well. So A&M had one of the number one recruiting classes 2 or 3 years ago. Jimbo Fisher got a whole bunch of money to go away because he couldn't make it all work. So but that's the reason why you're looking at 2 11-win teams right now, is because of that secret sauce, and for men leading them, in my opinion, that just haven't gotten enough credit.
Yeah, you're right. And I love the fact on Monday when they had the press conference, both Joey and Kalani, you could tell they have a deep admiration for one another. Kalani's joking about going out to eat with Joey and gaining weight. You can tell they are two guys who, there's more to life for them than just football, but it doesn't hurt that they're really, really darn good football coaches. And as you mentioned, they have brought more to the table than, just having, in your case, Cody Campbell with the oil money funding things at Texas Tech, and at BYU, people like Ryan Smith or Jason McGowan, who's kind of become like the cookie man.
Hey, man. I love me a good crumble cookie, man. I had one a week ago, an iced oatmeal, and it was phenomenal. So Kudos to you. I had no idea I was donating to such a good cause.
Well, I don't think I think a lot of college football fans found out this week what they were donating to with that.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But there is more to it than just throwing money at this problem and thinking it's going to solve itself. You have to have leaders of men, and these two coaches very much are that.
Yeah, and they have both earned the right to play in an unbelievable setting come Saturday morning, where the lights will be very bright. I think there's a lot of national interest in this game because, fans that don't have a dog in the fight will be rooting for one or the other based on how it affects their team or their league or whatever.
Yeah,
and it's in its own window. The last game that was played in that stadium, it just came out that 57 million people viewed it between the Cowboys and the Chiefs. It's not going to set that kind of record, right? Yeah. But it is setting an attendance record, on pace to do that. I'm not shocked, not even a little bit, that that's what is happening. I know how well BYU travels. Texas Tech fans are the largest alumni base for Texas Tech is in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Yeah. And so it doesn't shock me. I think it's got a chance to get over 90,000 in there and more if that's what what we get. But Joey's coached in that building. I think he told me 13, 14 times as a high school coach or as a staff member at Baylor. And so, but it's just it's a football mecca is what that place is. That's what it is. I mean, and Jerry doesn't do a lot of things well, but he builds really nice stuff. And that it's shocking that thing is, approaching 20 years old already, but it's still state of the art. And just don't get caught looking at the video board too much because no matter how many times you've been in there, you're like, goodness, that is a large television.
So I toured it in 2008 before it officially opened, and we'll get to more of that in a moment. But I also was there when they had the last time they had Big 12 Media Days in there. So it's 2023, BYU's first year in the Big 12. I went down to Big 12 Media Days, and I'm telling you, Chris, they had all the stuff on the field. I was standing at the 50-yard line. I remember kind of looking up and being like, this place is cavernous. It is like it's everything I've ever envisioned to be. And I can only imagine, you're right, 90,000+ fans on Saturday filling this place. It's got to be absolutely electric and have kind of the hair on the back of your neck stand up on end. And I'm fully expecting that from these two fan bases because they are ultra motivated to see their teams ultimately hoist a banner here, win a Big 12 title, and obviously live their college football playoff dreams.
Yeah, and the roof will be closed, so all that noise stays in there. Yeah, and it's funny because I mean, obviously there's going to be a lot of Texas Tech people there, but they even said earlier in the week, Joey was like, and I think Baron Morton said, yeah, we're working on our silent count and our cadences because we know that BYU is going to bring a lot of people there too. So there's just nothing like the neutral site bowl type atmosphere, but this is a bit different because somebody will get to hold up a conference championship trophy and something that they both desperately want.
NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, FanDuel.com is the place to go place your live NFL bets all season. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes.
Miami beats number 22 Pitt on the road. They don't move up. They stay at number 12, and you got to be in the top 10 by next week. 12 is not good enough. I see the committee giving Alabama a little bit of cushion. So Bama beats 5-7 Auburn by a touchdown, and they were so moved by that Alabama performance that they moved Bama up from number 10 to number 9, which is starting to make Notre Dame fans sweat a little bit, by the way. And I got some more shocking committee facts to talk about here. But you, Kelvin, throughout this whole process, you've been telling me not to worry, that if Miami keeps winning and they kept winning, that they're going to be in. Do you still feel that way?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Why?
I think the committee. I was just on my Twitter feed and I saw a, a, a clip from a Notre Dame website where the guy was telling them, "Be nervous, be real nervous." He actually said, "Hey, if BYU loses and Alabama loses, Miami's going to probably get in over us." And I was like, "Okay," and he's probably right.
So let me ask you a follow-up question there. So what the scenario you're at, and by the way, to give you credit, I was watching the committee chair, Hunter Yurachek, who comes off like a bumbling idiot, but Yurachek did keep the door open. Like they asked him, is it possible for teams who are idle this weekend to change their rankings? And he said yes. And he was specifically asked about the Miami Notre Dame scenario, and he didn't rule it out. And the implication here is that since Miami and Notre Dame have always had at least one team in between them, usually multiple teams, but right now the only team that's in between Miami and Notre Dame is BYU. So since they've always had teams in between them, they've never been forced to, hey, if they were ranked back-to-back, we'd be forced to push Miami up because of the head-to-head. So the thought there would be that if BYU loses to Texas Tech this weekend, and then theoretically if Miami and Notre Dame are separated by just one spot, that they would put Miami over. But like, why? But if they thought Miami deserves it more than Notre Dame, why not rank Miami in front of Notre Dame now? Why wait till Sunday?
Because they probably would have every Catholic in America calling, politicking, bothering them. And when they make the announcement on Sunday, it's final. There's no politicking that can happen. True. It's you just got to take it, just like when your mom comes in there with the castor oil, you just got to swallow it and just have the bitter beer face. And so, they're just basically trying to avoid confrontation here and actually have a little drama too, because there's probably I'm expecting Bama to move. They're going to be on the bubble if they lose, depending on how bad they lose to Georgia. Yeah. And, it's going to be interesting. If you're Notre Dame, you got to be rooting for Georgia as well, because if Georgia beats Alabama bad enough, there's a good chance that maybe both us and Notre Dame get in. A couple of scenarios.
Yeah.
But we deserve to be in. We deserve to be in.
Yeah, and just say we'll let you campaign a little bit, Kelvin. I mean, tell the people at home in their cars why, in your mind, Miami is one of the top teams in the country and why they should be in the college football playoff.
We have all of the elements. We're probably the most complete team. We have maybe the best offensive line in the country. We've got quarterback playing at a high level. We got a good running game. Got a great receiver. We got a great D-line, excellent secondary. And if need be, we can special teams, our kickers and our returners are good as well. Yeah. There is no, weakness on this team. Now, there's some weak spots every now and then, weak moments, but we can run. We can beat you running the ball. We can beat you throwing the ball. And I look at Ohio State. Ohio State boils down to three players, really four: the quarterback, two receivers, Smith, Tate, Caleb Downs, and Arvell Reese.
Right.
Those are the standout players. There's nothing special about their O-linemen. They don't have a pass rusher. The best pass rusher is Kenyatta Jackson for Fort Lauderdale for Broward County, and he is not in the same league. He's not even in the same league as, say, Lightfoot. Matt Patricia does a great job with the coverages and the blitzes, and that's what confuses a lot of quarterbacks and some offensive coordinators, because he's bringing pro stuff to college. But if you match us up man for man, we're a bit more talented than Ohio State. Definitely more talented than Indiana. It's just that we got to get in and we got to play up to our potential if we do get in.
Yeah, and when we come back, I want to get Kelvin's reaction to some really damning stats and evidence to see why the committee is just being so inconsistent on the way that they're punishing Miami and not punishing other teams in the same exact situation. You know, with the head-to-head not going in Miami's favor, some of you have probably seen this stat already. There have been, Kelvin, in the past 2 seasons, 13 instances. These are last year's. We'll get to this year's. 13 instances over the last 2 seasons of 2 teams having a head-to-head matchup and the same number of losses, the same record. That's Miami Notre Dame situation. Same record. Miami won the head-to-head. And 12 out of those 13 times, you look at last year, 7 for 7. This year, or what is it, 5 for 6 now. The team that won the head-to-head has been ranked higher every single time when the 2 teams have the same record, except for this time. This is the lone exception to that, which already is very fishy. Something else you consider, and I want to credit my friend James Williams from the Sports Detective podcast. I just recorded on his show, and he pointed this out to me. So you look at the head-to-head situations this year, Kelvin, you know, obviously Miami, Notre Dame still ranked in front of Miami. You also have Oklahoma, who beat Alabama.
Yeah.
And you have Texas, who's got a head-to-head win against Vanderbilt, right? Now, with Miami being ranked behind Notre Dame, a big argument that Notre Dame fans have is, well, you know, who cares you beat us head-to-head? Because if you look at all the analytics, FPI, SP+, strength of schedule, strength of record, Notre Dame is better than Miami in all of those metrics. And I will point out slightly, in most of those cases, they're separated by just a couple spots. So it's like that, okay? But that's Notre Dame argument is, yeah, you guys beat us on the field, but we have the edge in all the analytics. You want to hear something funny? When you compare Oklahoma to Alabama, Alabama has the edges in all of those analytics, and in most cases substantially better than the edges Notre Dame has over Miami. Alabama has the edges in all of those analytics, but Alabama is ranked behind Oklahoma because Oklahoma beat them head-to-head. You look at Texas and Vandy, which is even more ridiculous because Vandy's got a better record than Texas, but the committee said it last night. They moved Texas in front of Vandy because Texas has the head-to-head win. So not only do they have more losses, Vandy has the edge in all of those analytical categories, but Texas is ranked higher because of the head-to-head. So they pick and choose. The rules will benefit everyone but Miami, Kelvin. The rules always favor Notre Dame.
Yeah, I don't understand the infatuation with this school. They've been awarded one national championship in the last 40 years. And that one was a theft. So even more egregious of a theft than the 2002 Ohio State robbery. This was the Lufthansa robbery in Goodfellas. What happened in 1988?
The heist, the Lufthansa heist.
Yes. But I just don't think the metrics, all that stuff is cool. But I think deep down, they're going to have to give it to us because the credibility of this committee is on the line. I mean, people are taking shots from the top rope off of them on them now, and the credibility is at stake. And then what would be crazy is if Duke gets in and wins two games. That would really throw a monkey wrench because the whole thing is they're making it seem like the SEC is such a high standard. Tennessee this year didn't beat a Division I team with a winning record. Let that sink in.
I don't think Mizzou did either, and
Mizzou didn't either. No. So come on. I mean, you've got these mega conferences, and you've got too many teams, and then most of them aren't organized correctly, which you have cluster, and then it's like I think they need to go back to the divisions and play the 9-game schedule where you could get some consistency and interconference rivalries. Because right now it is like a Phil Necro knuckleball. It's all over the place. I mean, it is just ridiculous. You don't know what you're getting. The committee, depending on what they had for breakfast, is going to come out with something out of their ass, or they pull it out of their ear. I mean, that guy, they've sent that guy out the last 2 weeks, and he makes me not want to go to that school. Like, don't send your kids to that school, because if that's
Arkansas, he's the AD of Arkansas. Don't go there.
That's the AD, and that's the high on the educational food chain. Can you imagine what regular students are like? I mean, man, that guy's about as bright as a blackout, and he has no personality with it too. It's just they need a athletic director who can explain their process and do it with some personality to make people feel comfortable, to make people feel like it's not fixed for like one conference over the others. Because now it seems what they're trying to do is they're trying to have an SEC Big Ten final. But I think we can destroy all of that.
Yeah.
I just think we can.